The Rock is arguably the biggest action movie star right now, but if we're being honest, does he have a movie that's at the same level of a Predator or a Commando or a Terminator or a Rambo or movies of that ilk? I don't think so. I think the movies that he makes are okay, but they're not great. And that is just a sign of the times. Across the board, we're now in a society which is more concerned about putting out a lot of streaming content and content and content, and quality is taking a hit, not just with the movies and TV series, but you see it online as well. There's almost this need to constantly be on the hamster wheel to create content, and therefore people are just throwing out rubbish rather than thinking about what they're putting out, making sure it's got value, making sure it actually means something. And then we've got this content overload and fatigue of just reading and consuming the same rubbish time and time again. The issue, however, is that you could put out an intelligent, thoughtful piece of content and it's not going to get any views or engagement because the social media fields really aren't designed for that. On the other hand, you'll see an influencer put out some rubbish like water is wet, and then you'll see the comments, oh, you're so right, you're so wise, you're so great, and it's just so tiresome. But that is something you have to deal with and put up with until you get a sufficient amount of following. It's going to be like banging your head against the wall when creating content. You're not going to get the likes, the views, the engagement, but you've got to do it till a sufficient point of time where you do start to get engagement, you do start to get a little following, you do start to get a little traction, and then you've got to carry on from there. Most people quit because it's hard, it's painful, and it's long. But can you go through that period to get to the point where you do start to get engagement, where you do start to get traction, and that's when you really can start putting your ideas forward. Whereas most people are still doing the same thing and they're on this treadmill of constantly pushing out the same boring, regurgitated content just to stay relevant. That's going to lead you down a path of mental health issues, so I wouldn't advise it. It's better to post 2 to 3 times a week and making sure that the content is good and that you can keep up with that consistently without burning out, versus trying to post every day or 2 to 3 times a day. It's not healthy, it's not good for you, it's not good for the audience. So do what works best for you. There is no right answer, there is no wrong answer, regardless of all the tips and tricks everybody's trying to tell you. You can only work on what works for you, and nobody can tell you that except you. You know what your schedule is, you know what you're capable of, you know how much time, energy, and effort that you can put in. So work out a routine that works for you and then stick to it. Other than that, is Predator one of the greatest movies of all time or not?